Okay, everyone, today we're going to talk about Unreal Engine 5 and that Illuvium just announced that they have started working with Unreal Engine 5. Now, I've got a lot of information from a lot of different people. This video may go a little bit longer, but please bear with me. There's some really important information here. Please like and subscribe to get this out to more people. There's a little bit of FUD going around the community, so I want to make sure to cover off all of that. There's a lot to uncover. The first thing we're going to talk about is what Unreal Engine 5 is and how it affects gaming in general. Then I'm going to go into a few devs that aren't and are in Illuvium and kind of like their visions and what they've seen with Unreal 5 with Illuvium so far. Then I'm also going to go over some things that Grant and Aaron have actually said themselves in the Discord in relation to Unreal 5 and where Illuvium is with regards to it. Are they behind? Are they ahead of schedule? How is this going to help them in the future? I'm going to cover all of that off. Please stay tuned. There's some really important stuff. Please obviously this is not financial advice, but this mostly is good news. So definitely want to stay tuned and watch this through to the end. So the first thing we need to look at is the announcement. So it was announced here. But I'm going to delve into this a bit later, but Grant has actually said in the Discord that they've been testing for weeks. I'll go more on that. There's actually more to that story, but just know that this announcement itself isn't, they just switched over to Unreal 5 or they just clicked download Unreal 5 on their computers, okay? This has been in the works for, we don't know quite how long. From what I have seen, over a month now, for sure. Maybe you're pushing 2 months, could be longer, but I reckon over a month for sure, okay? So the other thing we need to talk about is what Unreal Engine 5 does. And I'm going to play through I thought I muted this. I'm going to play through a video here. I have no idea if that sound would have come through. Play a video here of some of the Unreal Engine 5 features and what they include. So to name a few major things, there's two really big features here. One is called Nanite, which they're looking at right now on the screen. Effectively, it means you can get really high polygon assets into your environment. The big problem with game engines in the past, so Unreal Engine is a game engine. It's one of two major third-party engines. People like EA typically have their own engine that they've built. It was like Frostwire or something, I can't remember what it's called. They have their own engine, but there are a lot of modern, okay, this is a really good one here. I'll stop that for a second. There are a lot of really modern games now that are starting to use Unreal Engine, and the other one being a Unity. Okay, they both have their differences. Many people are very strong for Unity, but I feel like Unreal Engine 5 has been gaining on them for a long time, or Unreal Engine has been gaining on them. So Nanite is this one here. You see every single thing there is a polygon. I've worked with my fair share of mesh models for quite some time now. I can tell you that the more polygons you have, the slower your computer goes. There's more to it, obviously, but you're going to have to trust me when I say that. But the really interesting part with Nanite here is it changes the way it works. Previously in game dev, you had these polygon meshes. And let's say you have a dragon and it's holding its wings out, it's staring you down, it's about to breathe fire on you. Every single polygon for that dragon, just any time, is going to be rendered in, no matter if you're 1,000 meters away or if you're standing right next to it. Every single polygon is going to be rendered in. Nanite fixes a lot of this stuff, which will help with optimization and it will help with mesh rendering and stuff like that. And I think it will make development easier as well, which Aaron has said in the Discord as well. So there's a lot of that to look forward to. The other feature there is actually Lumen. I'll describe that in a second. But basically what this means is the front of your dragon, you can see all those polygons. If you're far away, it will automatically have the same amount of polygons on screen. But since the dragon's further away, instead of the dragon being 100 polygons, the dragon's 50 polygons. And the other 50 are other parts of the environment and things like that, right? So the other side of it is the back of the dragon won't be rendered out. It'll be moved in and out in real time depending on where your character is actually looking. This is also a big game changer because it means you don't need to render anything that's hidden and just everything becomes smoother and faster. So the next one is Lumen. Lumen is actually something that they're looking to overtake ray tracing. Basically, it looks at volumetric light and the way it bounces off different surfaces and back and forth and things like that. which hasn't been able to be done before. Now, I don't quite understand how this is such a big change from what it was before. Besides, it needs a lot less processing power. I don't know quite how it calculates it. It is worth noting that Lumen will not apply to anything that isn't a static mesh. And from what I've seen, basically anything that deforms, for example, a character's skin on a skeletal mesh, if a character's skin deforms when that moves, when the game engine is doing whatever, then that thing cannot apply to Lumen. You'll have to render those lights and shadows and bake them in separately, like Grant's already been doing for the overworld and stuff like that. So this isn't really a big difference, but it's worth noting that really only the main areas of the map for the overworld will probably apply to this Lumen technology. The other big thing that Unreal Engine 5 has brought out they have 15,000 free scanned assets in something called a Mega Scans library. But Aaron has already said that they're not really going to be using that, which is quite powerful because they'll have their own stylistic setup for the game that other people won't have. Not only will that help it stand the test of time, but every other game, if they're all using the same assets because they're free, then they're all going to start looking the same. So it does give Illuvium a huge edge. And there is one scene at the end of this video I do really want to show you guys, is this here. So you can see this sort of like detail in the landscape and everything, because I'm pretty sure this is gameplay footage. This sort of detail and speed and the lighting and how dynamic and everything it is, very difficult to do something like that in current game engines and stuff like that. So I think a big part of this is probably Nanite, but it's really powerful how much of an advantage Nanite is giving this entire scene. Okay, so let's jump into the next bit. So the Shiny Shards had a Twitter Spaces recently, and they talked to a few really, really smart people. Let's put it that way. I think Illuvinomics was in there. It's Trevor, who has worked in the gaming industry for a long time and worked with Unreal Engine 4 and 5. And someone called Max that's from Illuvium. I think he's called like Max Inverse on Twitter or something. I'll figure it out. I'll chuck in the description. You guys I'll chuck all their Twitters in the description down below. So Illuvium, I'm going to talk about Trevor's comments first. So he describes it as a whole different beast to Unreal Engine 4 and that custom assets can have problems in UE5. And Aaron has also confirmed this. So what does this mean for Illuvium? Custom assets are having problems in UE5, but Grant and everyone else has talked about how they're not, and Max brings this up later on in the Illuvium in the Shiny Shards Twitter Spaces. Also, Shiny Shards link down below, obviously. But the custom assets. So Illuvium isn't going to be just reworking everything they've already done. They're using Unreal Engine 5 moving forward for anything they do in the future, and they will slowly port over all those past assets and things into the future. And I've watched a few videos of how people actually do this from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, and there can be a lot of hiccups. Things like converting something and then enabling it for Nanite. If it was built with a lot of other third-party assets in mind, like Aaron has also said, then some of this can run into complications and you will have to remake a little bit of stuff. But so far, it seems like they've had a rather smooth process. The problem is they have so many different things built. Aaron did say that if it was just the overworld, it would be a lot easier for them to transition. But there's so many different elements, so many things going on that it can become a bit tricky. Trevor also says that every single asset, when converting to UE5, and he's experienced this in the past, needs to be queried when it's ported over. Yeah, I was just establishing on that, but yeah, so this is going to be a little bit of a slow process, but it is a rolling change. They're probably going to have 2 simultaneous builds of the game going. Their beta build, it's UE4, everything they've had so far. Then they'll be adding on the UE5 stuff and upgrading the UE4 as they go. But as I said before, given the sorts of meshes and plants and things that Illuvium currently has, I'm not seeing a huge amount of advantage to these new features, such as Nanite and Lumen. And Aaron actually said, I'll grab this quote because this one's important. Crap, I don't have the quote. That they already have their own custom workflows for retopology and lighting. So I don't know how much they will, or if at all, be using Nanite and Lumen, those 2 features I talked about before, but it seems like they don't need to, which means that porting over these assets is going to be a bit easier. And Aaron actually describes these new features of Unreal Engine 5 that are really beneficial as being mostly for side-by-side editing and development workflow. So overall, I think this is going to give actually a big speed boost to the Illuvium development time, because they're going to be mainly focusing on using those features. And as I said, a slow rolling change to old assets. So the other thing Trevor says is that if they break the game, it can shut down the entire dev team in one go. Now, that's paraphrasing, but what he's trying to point at is that there are inherent risks. If you you create a major bug and stuff when trying to port all this stuff over, especially if you don't do it carefully, you can kind of break the game a bit. And when that happens, you need at least you need someone to fix it before everyone can get back to work. So that is an inherent risk here, and it should be considered. But one thing I should mention right now is that Grant said that the port over is done, okay? And it was never about work swapping over, but stability. The team has tested everything, and there are only a couple of minor things and bugs that they haven't fixed yet. So he said in a previous comment as well that they're going to test it once it's ported over. So given that they've been testing it for quite a few weeks, I think this has been a rolling change that's been happening for months. Still think max 2 months, but it's in progress. So if anyone thinks that this has just happened all of a sudden and this means we're going to get even more delays, I would put that to rest a little bit. But there are obviously going to be some level of delays when doing something like this, but overall it's going to speed up the workflow, especially into the future. Some things that Max from Illuvium has said is that they have slowly upgraded over the coming months, and he's confirmed that about the team, and they're not going backwards to rebuild things. Everything I said a minute ago, I'm jumping back and forth a bit here, and I apologize, guys, but this is really important information. He also mentioned that the Illuvium team is going fast, and delays are to be expected, and that the God of War team, it took them over 5 years, I think, or just under 5 years, with about 350 people. Illuvium's currently on 250, and some believe there's risk that they could be burning out some of their employees, but I know that they're definitely keeping a good eye and good track on that. They believe in that wholeheartedly, so I'm going to put that out there. But yeah, so a game like this takes a long time, and the fact that they've done it so quickly should definitely be considered. So there could be further delays. You never know. And yeah, it unlocks some other dev tools, which, as I said, is a really good thing. So I think I've covered off what everyone said. Yeah. Well, I hope that's really useful. I do actually have a little present for you guys, though, now that you've sat through the entire video, is Grant actually dropped some really interesting leaks. Now, I don't have the monitor quite wide enough to support this, even though my monitor's plenty wide. And I've actually scaled this down at 1920 by 1080, obviously. But here are a few screenshots, or I think they're actually from 4K footage from inside the game. My monitor's only putting out 2K and then YouTube 1080p. But here is one of them. It looks really, really good. As I said before, I'm not seeing Lumen or Nanite in here. Also, the way they've done textures and things on the walls and stuff would lead me to believe that polygon count wasn't really a big issue. They're definitely keeping in mind weaker computers, because that's quite important for the future success of this game. But they may upgrade the textures in the future as well. They do look fantastic, but a texture and a polygon mesh that looks like a texture are two very different things. All the plants and everything look great. I can't wait to see him running around in the overworld. Grant also said he's using a controller to play, which is super interesting. I would like to see more of Crimson Waste that isn't the cave, but we're going to leave that till another day. Here is another one. You can see the lighting and everything looks really, really great. Yeah, I can't wait to parkour and jump around this area and this map for sure. Okay, and here's the last one here. You can see Mozart flying around. Grant's been trying to release like a proper gameplay footage video of the overworld, but Mozart's bugs have been giving him some issues, so that's really unfortunate. Please like and subscribe down below. I really, really appreciate it. This has been a really fun video to make. I just hope you guys learned something really interesting about Unreal Engine 5 and its potential for Illuvium. Mostly good news, I assure you. If they have any issues, it'll probably be in the devlog and things like that. So definitely stay tuned to all the Illuvium media. Have a good day, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it.